Let's talk about cost and the process a little bit further. One of the challenges that agents have run into when using companies like yourself to manage their short sale is the fees. Certain lenders won't allow fees to be on the HUD-1, to be paid by the buyer or the seller, and it creates a problem. And the next thing you know, the realtor is having to come out of pocket to pay people in order to make this thing happen, and it diminishes their opportunity. Maybe eliminates the commission. Who knows what all the costs are. So, what's your solution for that? How are you able to make this a profitable relationship with the real estate agents?
Sure. Our viewpoint today is that the reality is that there are two parties who benefit most from the short sale transaction. They are the ones who should bear the burdens of the cost, and that is the homeowner who is in default and the bank who holds the paper. So what we have done, and again, I'm going to give two scenarios, and they're two very different scenarios. Under the attorney model that we've developed, so long as the attorney is engaged at the time to work the transaction, he is paying us for our services rendered. The agents don't pay us any fees. The buyers don't pay us any fees. The only time there may be out-of-pockets is if the attorney is not paid a minimum fee for legal work on the HUD. And we average the minimum the vast majority of the time, but there are a lot of cases where we get below that. And under the agreement with the attorney and the retainer, there is a stipulation the seller will make up the difference to that minimum. But they can also, and we do this in a lot of locations, a lot of agents, is that the attorney can request the buyers to participate on the legal side. We have a buyer addendum that allows the buyer to agree to support the transaction in a variety of manners, including paying certain things that we know may pop up, HOA back dues, back taxes, if the commission is cut by the second lien holder, if the legal fee isn't fully paid. We use that very effectively to tie a buyer to a transaction, but also to make sure that the realtor is not dipping into their pockets to pay somebody for work being done. We like to see the bank and the seller be the ones. And again, the seller we know is in financial distress. We know there are issues, but I've also done enough of these to know that if the seller needs to come to the table with $500 or $800 for a legal fee for the attorney to get out of the foreclosure, the vast majority find a way to get it done. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, they may, ask up front. They'll ask of the buyer to support the transaction, and typically most buyers understand they're getting the bargain of a lifetime, and to pay a couple of extra $1,000, depending on what the price point of the house is, isn't too much to ask to get these deals done. Everyone's familiar enough with the market now to know that there are certain costs and issues that are not being paid by the servicers, things that fall outside the realm, certain things that need to be taken care of, and smart agents are tying the buyers in to avoid paying out of their pocket. And that's I agree with that 100%. Now, again, our model may not be right for everybody, but it has worked very, very effectively for a lot of the realtors who do business with us.
Would you say the majority of the transactions that you close require some type of seller or buyer participation, or are you able to get the lender to pay this cost?
I would say over half of the time, maybe a little bit higher, maybe a little lower, the lenders pick it up the majority, almost all, let's say 100% of the tab. Another, 25, 30%, it's a small amount that's typically picked up between the seller and the buyer. And then we do have a handful of transactions where the fee has been cut to bare minimum, and the attorney, us, everyone is reducing and contributing as a partnership to get the deal done. But that doesn't happen on an everyday occurrence. That's more rare than it is regular. But
so
we do have files.
It just depends then on the servicer and just the overall transaction. Every deal is different, isn't it?
100% correct. And really, to be perfectly blunt, the driving force is what is the sale price relative to the value of the property. Mm-hmm. I'll be very blunt. If you're selling that $300,000 house and your seller and you as the listing agent are contemplating accepting that $230,000 or $240,000 offer, well, be prepared to have commissions cut, be prepared for fees and things to be sliced out, be prepared for a fight. If you're at 260, 270, 280, you're going to see your transaction go a whole lot smoother because the nets that the servers are looking for are going to be met fairly easily.
Right.
It really is a function of dollars recovered by the bank.
No, I thought, though, under half a guidelines, the cutting of commissions, though, was going to be, eliminated. Or
well, let's understand HAFA. HAFA is a great program.
Mm-hmm.
The timelines, and on Feb 1, I'm sure your speaker last week brought up some of the changes that are occurring and to make it better and more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, you have to remember that unless your second lien holder participates, you don't have a HAFA transaction. Mm-hmm. If you have a single mortgage with one of the main servicers who are participating, typically we get it through fairly quickly, very easily.
Right.
Given the fact that if you look at all the second mortgages, the HELOCs out there, only a third of them in general are owned by the banks that originated them. Most of them are held by second, third parties.
Mm-hmm.
Those people are not obligated to participate. So they may look and go, hey, I've got a $100,000 HELOC here, and under half a guys I'm getting $6,000.
Right.
Well, gee, I've got a note, that I can pursue deficiency on. Why would I do that? So I want $25,000.
Right.
To do it. So now all of a sudden we fall out of the HAFA guideline. Now we have to go negotiate and figure out how we structure that deal, which is what we're very good at. I mean, everyone complains, gee, I can't get the first and second to play ball with me. Well, that's what we do best. We have exceptional success with first and seconds, getting them to come to a conclusion. Now, at the end of the day, that conclusion may not be exactly what the seller may or may not hoping for, because, again, if you have a cash-out refi on the second, or if you have a HELOC, there's a price to pay for that, because the banks are just not letting people walk away unless they really feel they have no chance whatsoever to collect. Right. So it is an uphill fight. You have to really, really be aggressive and work these deals and be very smart about it and how you present the circumstances to the servicer so they understand the hardship, they understand the inability of the homeowner to pay money, to do certain things, and that's why we get a lot of the buyers involved in this part of the transaction, because, look, hey, if we need a few grand to help out on the second, we got the buyer to help us out there. So there's a lot of positives to that structure and how we work. But back to HAFA, the biggest issue, because we'll happily, whenever you take a listing, have your homeowner speak to their servicer to get the HAFA eligibility package. Mm-hmm. Have them complete it. Get it to us as part of the document package. We'll present it to the servicer. We'll work it through to see if they're eligible, because it's in everyone's interest to get them eligible for the deal. And right. Some of them are saying they have to go through the HAMP process first, but the majority are waiving that requirement if the homeowner is truly dedicated to selling the property.
Right.
But again, the seconds are really where we see the bottleneck, and everyone's all excited about, everyone's going to play ball, we're going to have great deals get done. But if you only have $6,000 to pay off a second, a back HOA, potentially a tax lien,
you got a problem.
You got problems. It doesn't go very far. So you better be prepared with that homeowner to understand that, hey, we may have to go this on a normal negotiation, not a half a negotiation.
Right. Operator, do we have any questions?
We have a question from Lina.
Hi, it's Lena Martinez.
Hi, Lena. Thanks for calling.
Thank you. I have a question on the BPO that he was talking about from Huntington Beach. Mm-hmm. Now, how do you get that BPO? Does the servicing company offer it to you, or how do you get it?
No, they will not give that out. That's proprietary. But what typically occurs is that when we have a discussion as to the net numbers and the valuation, they'll raise, our valuation is X or Y, and we can pretty much come to a conclusion based on the discount percentages off of market value, what they're looking for. So if you get on that $300,000 house and, they're telling us they have a counter of 330 or 340, we typically know that value came in somewhere between 350 and 360-ish based on the counter they're asking for. So it's a little bit subjective. It's a little bit more art than science, but we never see, well, I would say never. On occasion, we'll get it. We'll be told what's going on with it and what they did with it. But what we teach our agents to do is that when the bank is prepared to do the BPO, they're going to order it. We always give them the agent as contact information, and we tell the agent, don't put it on lockbox on that day. Make that broker contact you to see the property so you have at least some ability to give them some information or influence them as to what they're doing. Most will tell you, I can't talk to you, this, that, the other, but they'll listen if you say something about the condition of the property, or, by the way, did you know that XYZ property 2 blocks over just sold for this? Mm-hmm. They'll take some of that data and incorporate it so that you can influence. So you really need to be involved in that process as much as possible, even though you may be barking up a tree, so to speak. But if you don't make the effort, you're never going to have the ability to influence what we need to do, because we need to come in within range of your contract, or we're going to have another round of negotiations, and your buyer could walk because they may say, you know what, I'm only approved for $290,000. I can't afford $330. I'm sorry, got to go.
Right. Now, the servicer is not asking you to order the BPO. They're doing this directly, and you're not involved in that?
No, we only provide them with contact points.
Okay.
Most of the time, they want to control that process. They don't want a third party doing. They may have a third party contractor inside, maybe doing some of the work, and they'll control that. But on our side, no, we would never order. They would never allow us to, because there is inherent conflict of interest.
I see. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lena. Next question, operator.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, if you have a question, please press star then 1 at this time.
While we're waiting for the next question, let's talk about managing the process properly in terms of how to get an approval quickly, dealing with the lenders. What was your thinking in that bullet point?
Well, the transactions can take on a life of their own, but you really need to make sure you understand what the bank's process is. What is their timeline? When you initiate those discussions with the servicer, what is the timeline? When am I going to have the BP ordered? What is the step-by-step process? Get them to tell you as much as they can. Someone will tell you we don't know, or there's no process, but everyone has some form, and we've discovered it just by working with so many files with so many different servicers. But you want to understand what it is so that you can follow that guideline and understand when they're going to do things. So again, presenting a package that's complete, accurate. You know, it's not missing a W-2, it's not missing a bank statement, it's not lacking a signature, because those things, regardless of what the perception is, if those things pop up in their review process, they flag the file and it sits there until it's corrected. They won't process it through unless it's perfect. So again, consistency and uniformity. And then they have to organize it in a manner for their people to do it. So if you understand how they want it presented, you save yourself a lot of time. So again, not doing incomplete files. Being in touch from the time you submit it. Don't wait 2 weeks to contact the bank saying, hey, did you get my package? You submitted it. The next day you're on the phone. Did you get it? Is it showing in your system? And you continuously call until you find out what they're doing with it. Otherwise, what you're going to happen is you're going to call 2 weeks or 3 weeks later and going to say, well, your authorization was wrong. We need this, or we didn't get that. Now you just lost 3 weeks in the process.
Right.
So being efficient, staying on top, constantly calling, working with them, and then being succinct as you present your case. Don't get on the phone and not know what's going on with your file. Don't get on the phone and say, well, what do you guys want to do? You are their advocate. You have to sell them on why this short sale makes sense. Why is the net on this number going to be better for them than a foreclosure sale? There's a lot of little things that you do that most agents don't do or don't know how to do.
Right. Well, it certainly sounds like a lot of work, a lot of follow-up. I mean, honestly, I don't know why any agent would not completely outsource their short sale activities. I mean, it's one thing to knock on doors, find someone who's interested, but as soon as you're collecting all the documentation, to be able to turn it over to someone who will take ownership of all of that follow-up and updating, it sounds like a win-win for me. I know that's what I would do if I were selling real estate. Operator, do you have any other questions on the line?
Showing no questions, sir.
Okay, great. So, Stephen, we're at 11:28 at the bottom, 11:30, almost 11:30, and this has been a very informative call. I want to give you an opportunity just to kind of restate the value proposition for foreclosure response team and provide the website address as well for people that would like to become a member of your network so that they can not only participate in the processing and of the short sales, but also other opportunities for training and for leads that you spoke about earlier.
Certainly. Again, thank you for the opportunity to be here, but we believe our value proposition is simple. We want you as a realtor to focus on your core competencies and allow us to help you grow your business. We're going to help manage the transaction. We're going to provide you with the expertise and a variety of service providers that are all focused on working with you and your client to get the transaction done. Our platform is very unique. You're not going to see anything else like it in the market. It really allows you to manage and oversee your transaction